give you some time also to brainstorm with each other about how you could be using this in your classroom. With that, I actually want to pause and remind everybody that we've been asked to record the session for today. So I just want to give another heads up that's happening. So if that impacts your decision to keep your camera on or off or whatever, just giving you a heads up. If Jan, if we could start recording now. Thank you. All right. And if you haven't seen it yet, there's also a Google Doc version of today's agenda available that I think Jan has been sharing in the chat box there if you haven't seen it yet. Again, that agenda will have all the links you need just in one place, but we'll keep tossing them up there. But just in a nutshell, we're going to be going through our opening moves here right now. Like I said, we're going to do some framing around the 6 priorities for English learners, and then we'll get into talking about strong or clear each time, and wrap it up for the afternoon. And so, like most of the sessions you've probably been in so far, we really want to ground today's work in our district's definition of equity. And so if you haven't seen it for a moment, let's give you a moment to read it to yourself. And so I'd just like to add that today we're really going to be honing in on trying to create some more multilingual practices, or rather practices that really support our multilingual students. And in doing so, hope to get to that final phrase of this definition here. So we really want to start to incorporate some practices that do remove that predictability of success or failure that may currently correlate with a particular multilingual group of students in our district. And with that in mind, I want to kind of take us back to this, this finding from a study back in the 90s. Recognize it's some years back and school has changed since then, but I still think it's a really kind of eye-opening one to keep in our minds here. And they found that English learners, on average, engaged in school talk only 4% of the school day, and in content focal discussion, only 2% of the school day. And as we all know, that's a problem, especially if we want to be supporting these students to get into the rigorous content that we're putting in front of them, let alone get an opportunity to practice learning a new language. And so the question for us that we're going to be working towards solving today is, how might we increase student motivation to communicate and develop ideas? So that's what we're really going to be holding at the heart here, and holding at our heart as we try to move towards that definition of equity. And so we're going to pause for a moment just to give you a chance to connect with somebody else in the room here. And like I mentioned before, this is going to be the first of multiple opportunities to connect through the Zoom breakout rooms here. And so that's something that we are hoping you get to walk away from today, getting a chance to feel a little bit more comfortable with if you're not already, and get an opportunity to see how you can maybe use it in your classrooms. And so in a moment, I'm going to ask Jan to move us into breakout rooms. But before you go, to tell you what you're doing there. When you get there, you'll see hopefully 2 or so other people. We're going to be in rooms of 3 here. You can introduce yourself to your colleagues. You can just tell them your name, let them know your preferred pronouns, the school where you're working at, and your content area. Of course, anything else you want them to know. And then take a few minutes to discuss. How are you already promoting student discourse in the classroom? So this can even be thinking back to, the brick and mortar days. And so, now that we are in this distance learning context, how are you adapting your discourse strategies for the online environment? And so this will just get us kind of warmed up thinking about how we're getting students to talk with each other. So Jan, if you could, please move us into some breakout rooms.
Did you get placed in one, Lucas?
Nope.
Okay.
Is it happening?
It should be. I think there are still some people not in a breakout room. Oh, we forgot to tell them how much time they have.
Oh, they'll have a total of 7 minutes. So like, yeah, about 2 minutes per person.
There's a couple people that didn't join their breakout room, so I'm trying to balance out some size. Do you have a timer on?
Yeah, we're at 5 minutes about. Good. We're doing good on time too. So far.
Up, Charlotte Peterson. Let me try and help you. Sorry, Charlotte, I need to find your name in our list of people here. Okay, I'm gonna try to move you to a breakout room. Let me know if that works for you, Charlotte. I'm not sure. There may be a button that you need to push if you're still here. It looks like on my end, everyone is assigned. How much more time do we have left, Lucas?
2 minutes and 30 seconds.
We have about 10 people that did not make it to a breakout room.
Interesting. And they're assigned to a room?
They're assigned to rooms, but not everyone was able to join their room. Hmm.
Are you getting like messages in the chat?
Yeah, there's a couple people, and I also see that there's 11 people in the room with us right now. Are we at about a minute left?
1 minute and 11 seconds.
Okay, so I'm just gonna bring everyone in.
Cool. All right, welcome back as you're making your way back to the main room here. All right, looks like we got almost everybody back. Cool. All right, looks like we got almost everybody back here now. Great. Welcome back. Apologies if you didn't make it to a breakout room. Again, that's part of our hope for this session, is that we get a chance to like try this out, work out any of the kinks that come up along the way. And we're gonna have a few more opportunities to try this out as we go here. All right, so with that, and I'm going to move us along now to the next section of our agenda. We'll have some more opportunities in this part and the following to hear from some folks in the whole group here. But I'm going to move us into the section around our SFUSD priorities for English learners during distance learning. And now all this information I'm about to share lives in a document that you're going to have a few minutes to look at on your own. Just to give you a little bit of framing here, once we moved into distance learning last springtime, we at Multilingual Pathways partnered with a few other organizations and districts around the country to try to identify what are really the most important research-based priorities that we need to make sure that we're practicing and getting good at during distance learning here. And the first thing that came up is that, of course, first and foremost, we need to connect with students. And that has also been one of the most challenging aspects so far, as I don't need to tell you now. Likewise, when it comes to being a language learner, one of the top priorities has to be figuring out ways to facilitate student talk. So again, that's what our focus is today. And I know there's a lot of expertise out there already around this. And so the question is, how do we just translate this into the distance learning environment? Third, we want to make sure that along the way here that we're continuing to provide explicit language instruction. And this goes for those designated ELD classes, as well as what we refer to generally as integrated ELD. But in other words, in any content area where there are language learners, we want to make sure that we are identifying language objectives and providing some opportunities for explicit language instruction, especially in the language of that particular discipline. As always, we want to make sure that as teachers, we're modeling and providing visuals for students to provide another scaffold for them to access content. And just so that we can ensure access to that rigorous grade level content. We want to make sure that what we're providing to our language learners is just as rigorous as what we would provide to any other student. And finally, the sixth priority is around making sure that we're figuring out ways to increase choice, agency, and differentiation, that we're not just pushing out a document that's a one-size-fits-all type of a lesson, but rather that we're figuring out ways to help students have some sort of control over their learning experience here. So we will be talking more about facilitating student talk, but before we get into that, I want to give you some time to chew on this a little bit. And so, Jan, if you haven't yet, if you could share with folks the link to this guidance document around the SFUSD priorities for English learners. I'm going to ask you to take a few minutes just to kind of do some review on your own here. And after 5 minutes, I'm going to ask us to move into breakout rooms again, where you can discuss any of the following prompts with your colleagues there. So as you're reading, think about what's really standing out to you here. I think especially in terms of what initial ideas you might have about how to incorporate these priorities into your lessons. And try to take note of what questions are coming up for you. Or anything else that stands out to you, you'll have some time to share with your colleagues. So let us know if you're having any trouble accessing that document. Again, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes starting now to take a look at that on your own, and then I'll call us back together and push us into breakout groups. We're going to call you back in about 1 minute, so about another minute to review. All right. So hopefully you've had enough time to at least get a little bit more familiar with some of the details in that document there. And so next up here, Jan will be helping to move us back into some breakout rooms. This time you're going to be in groups of about 4 each. And again, you're just going to be discussing with your colleagues what's standing out to you, what initial ideas you have about how to incorporate these priorities into your lessons, and taking note of any questions you have. And we'll have a chance to share some bigger ideas that come out of your discussions with the whole group afterwards. All right. So with that, you can take it away, Jan.
And you will be in your rooms for about 10 minutes. You'll get a 1-minute warning before you get pulled back into the main room. Thank you.
I don't have enough time.
Jan.
Hello.
Hi, Adela. Would the 2 of you like to join another group since it's just 2 and I want to give you guys a chance to brainstorm with more people?
Sure.
Sure.
Hold on while I try to fix that.
All right.
And I'll keep the 2 of you together.
How's it going in those rooms? I think you're muted, Jan.
It's not bad. We have about 8 people that are in this room with us. I'm not really sure why they are unable to join, but if you would like, feel free to write in the chat what might be coming up for you as you review these resources. Yep, some people are finding their join link.
Oh, good.
Shannon, I can try to invite you back over there. I might need to put you. Okay, let's see if that worked, Shannon. I just moved you from run room back to breakout room 1. We are definitely going to be testing the limits of Zoom with we had 67 people to put into pairs.
So we have 67, eh?
We have about 67 people.
Okay. Yeah, this will be testing it.
I forgot to keep time. Do you have time?
Yeah, I got time. We have 5 minutes and 27 seconds.
Okay.
So yeah, I wonder like, hello, Ellen, are you there and waiting to get into a breakout room? Maybe not. I wonder if some folks just stepped away from their computers, so.
No, it might be that their phone is in this room or something else is in the other room.
Oh,
There's some double instances of people.
I see.
I made a large breakout room with 5 people, I guess. Oh, it's okay. I know who I put into those rooms. That's fine. It's definitely strange not being in rooms though.
I know. Like, I have no insight into like what the vibe is or what people are talking about.
Are you able to get into a room?
I don't
Or would
like.
I have to pop you into there?
I think I don't seem to have like a control that would allow me to.
Okay, so you don't, oh, that's right, because co-hosts don't have breakout room.
Hmm.
Cool. Oops.
Okay, I'm as long as a person doesn't feel like they're just being left out. Yeah, but it is tough. Like it's almost like I want to hear from the group share out just to like kind of like get a sense of where people are at.
Mm-hmm. I'll be demoing near. Did y'all do a Nearpod demo at all last spring?
No.
Okay, so I'll be demoing some Nearpod for y'all tomorrow during our meeting.
Awesome.
I just sitting in this meeting, I'm like, oh man, we could do collaborate boards. That'd be really fast. Some quick polls.
That's and yeah, I mean that's a thing. I have a feeling like this kind of style is going to seem so archaic once we get like a little bit better at stuff. Although I mean, this still seems like the only way to like have like talking
Oh
happening
yeah.
at this point. We got about 2 minutes. 1-minute warning.
All right.
Welcome back.
Hopefully the 1-minute warning gives everyone some time to finish their thought before they get pulled back in.
Yes.
Oh, I totally left prematurely. I thought that I'm like doing this for my phone, and
Oh,
it's part of my experiment in seeing because I found that like 85% of my kids are going to be like watching these things from their phones, and I've just been trying to see if some of the complaints that they had or suggestions that they had were valid. And like in Google Class and even in Zoom, they have to toggle from page to page, and it's really, I mean, it's not. It's so much different than doing it on a computer, which I'm used to doing.
mm-hmm. One move that I tried to do, but on a cell phone, you still don't have the chat room or the chat box feature. So one thing I try to do is to put the breakout room prompt into the chat before I break everyone out into rooms. So at least if I had sentence frames or something, they'd have the chat box to refer back to while in breakout rooms. I'm not sure how that functions cell phone wise though.
I'm finding that I just have to keep scrolling in order to see people. Like swiping, I have to swipe laterally in order to see things.
Thank you for that info. That's helpful.
Great.
Which opens us up to share out time.
Yeah, that was perfect. I'm glad we've already jumped right into that. Thank you for coming on back here. And yeah, I want to just kind of open it up to anybody that might have some kind of like ahas or something that's worth lifting up to the group there. I'm going to thank whoever actually, I'm sorry, I don't even know who was just sharing right now for kind of lifting up a little kink that they found in the process here of coming back a little too soon. But that's the whole point of these practice breakout rooms here, to see how it goes. So with that, if there's anybody else that would like to unmute themselves and share any big learnings from your group, or if not, feel free to toss some thoughts into the chat box there.
Hi, I'm PQ. I'm at Hoover, and I think I came in on the tail end of either Jan or Christina talking, I'm not sure, but I liked what I heard about typing in the question, your breakout room prompt in the chat. And I didn't quite hear the benefit of that, although it sounded like a good idea to me. And basically what I'm looking for are ways to really facilitate and like the word used earlier, motivate students to speak in breakout rooms, because obviously we can't be in every single breakout room at once. And as we know, there's often a lot of silence, you know, EL speaker or not. It's just really hard to know that there's any activity or dialogue going on. And so how do we promote that and also make students accountable for that?
Before I jump in, was there anybody that has some initial thoughts can respond to that?
This is Kathy. We had some success with, you have to find a student who will be able to open another tab to get a document, but putting on a document and then telling them to one person to share the screen in the breakout room. And so then they had to like answer a question or fill in a graphic organizer, or somehow write out some results of their discussion. And then they could also share the screen and present it once we were out of breakout rooms.
So
That's great, thank you. So it sounds, yeah, okay, I got what you said.
Yeah, and another thing that I was just telling my breakout group about that I read about this morning was maybe using different devices on Zoom, so that like you're logged in as yourself with video usually on one, and then the other one, like, you know, just your picture muted, but that one you can send into the breakout room so you can monitor what students are doing in that breakout room and potentially talk about it later on in the lesson. Kind of call out things you thought that were good and whatnot.
Right, so that's like Zoom 2.0 there. Nice.
This is Bruna. I'm thinking about assigning different roles to students during breakout rooms in a way that, you know, you would like during in-person learning. So for example, I'm thinking of having like a facilitator who can read out the questions or the prompts and just, you know, kind of make sure that everyone speaks, and then having like a timekeeper to keep track of if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. And then I'm thinking of having a scribe, which is someone who would kind of try to jot down the main points in the breakout room discussion for them to post back in the main room once we're kind of, you know, all back in the whole group setting. And then to have like a presenter / report back person who would basically do the same job as a scribe, but do it verbally. And so that way you have, you know, at least with the scribe and the presenter, you have two people who are specifically, you know, responsible for capturing the essence of the breakout room conversation and accountable to the whole class.
Fabulous. You took the words right out of my mouth. That was going to be my suggestion. It's great. Any other thoughts about either ways to maintain accountability or anything else that's coming up for you after looking at the 6 priorities document there? Okay. Well then, great. With that kind of foundation, we're going to push forward here into our next section, where we want to kind of focus in on that second priority around facilitating student talk. And I'd like to start by just sharing this quote from Courtney Kasdan. And I feel like this really encapsulates our ideal, our goal of what we're going for. When she tells us that language is learned, not because we want to talk or read or write about language, but because we want to talk and read and write about the world. Language is the medium of our interpersonal relationships, the medium of our mental life, the medium of learning about the world. And so this is, of course, where we're trying to get students to go. The question becomes, how do we support them in doing that? But we can know that we're working towards we're working towards this authentic communication when we're creating assignments and opportunities that both require and help students to build up big ideas. This would be the claims and concepts they might be talking about. These tasks that require and help students to clarify terms and support their ideas, as well as hopefully fill in information gaps. And I should also say that, you know, this point is not me talking about things that I figured out myself here. This is all of us at MPD borrowing heavily from the work of Jeff Zweers, with whom we've been collaborating over the past year or so, if not longer now, around this very idea of like really supporting authentic communication. And so he's helped us to establish an array of different, what we're calling discourse routines, like we're going to be looking at here. And now with moving into the COVID era, our work has kind of shifted towards like, how do we translate these types of strategies to the Zoom world here? So that's what we're going to be trying out here.
And one thing to add, I know that some of us might have been around with the Jeff Zweers academic conversation piece, and I just want to reassure everyone that this is not like a brand new thing that we are doing. It's more of a refinement that Jeff Zweers has been thinking about over the past 2 or 3 years, I think. where the talk moves that we had been teaching our students, how do we structure when and how they use these talk moves to really help them build up their ideas and build up their language.
Thank you. Yes. So if anything here, the concern might be that you might have heard this kind of stuff from us before. And so hopefully we can take it to the next level now. So again, today we're going to be talking about this, talking about and practicing this particular discourse routine called Stronger, Clearer Each Time. In a nutshell, Stronger, Clearer Each Time is a discourse routine that helps students to strengthen and clarify ideas about any given topic. In brief, students would be provided an open-ended prompt, and they'll be speaking with successive partners, where each time they talk with a partner, they'll get an opportunity to build ideas and borrow the language from those previous partners here. And so for myself, I know that when I was introduced to this routine, it reminded me a lot, suspiciously a lot like give one, get one. And so I was like, okay, that's good, actually. This is something I sort of already know. I can just kind of hone it in, like when to use it more. Likewise, I'm going to show you a video in a moment of what this would look like in the brick and mortar classroom. And for those of you who have used it before, you're going to see it looks a lot like lines of communication, another structured language practice that we've talked about MPD in the past. So again, to Jan's point, this is nothing like totally new, but we're trying to just really refine and hone it at this point. And so again, with Stronger, Clear, each time you're talking with a partner, you're building ideas to make them stronger, whether that be with better evidence, examples, or explanations, as well as clear. We want students to have the opportunity to try to make their ideas more clear with the topic sentences, or sentences that clarify and support the initial sentence. Think about ways that they can rearrange their spiel to make it more logical and use more precise academic words along the way. And so why bother using this? And again, I'm going to answer that question through the lens of our multilingual learners, our language learners, and really call out that this is a routine that's going to support students to repetitively use new language. And so when you get a chance to practice this yourself, you'll find yourself having to say kind of the same thing over and over again, but perhaps you can find new ways to say it. And there's a lot of different research that shows that this is something that is particularly useful for language learners, getting that chance to practice language in a more redundant kind of way, get the chance to say it more than once. In addition to that, this routine will provide students an opportunity to hear multiple perspectives on a topic. They'll get to build up and refine their own ideas on that topic. And again, practice stating opinions in different ways than they might have said it the first time around. And finally, it's also a chance for students to practice that active listening, as well as those talk moves that the listener in the conversation or in a duo would have to have or get practice using in order to keep a conversation going. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that would look like or sound like too. Okay, so we're going to pause here to watch a video. In this video, this is going to be back in the days of brick and mortar classrooms again. So you're going to see students not practicing social distancing or anything like that. Nobody's in masks. This was back in the day. This is I'm sorry to say, I don't quite remember exactly which school this is. It's not here in San Francisco, but it is here in California. This is a high school ELA class where they've been reading Animal Farm. And the teacher has given them the prompt, which is better, capitalism or communism? This is actually towards the beginning of the unit. The students have been doing a little bit of learning around capitalism and communism. They haven't necessarily read the story yet, but you're going to hear and see them engaging in this routine. And while you're watching, I'd like you to pay attention to the student on the right-hand side, who's he's an lower intermediate level English learner, and I want you to pay attention to whether his ideas get stronger or clearer by the end of this. You'll also see somebody kind of intervene. It looks like a teacher. That's actually Jeff Swears there intervening to kind of keep the students true to the protocol here. And so that's one of the reasons too that I like this video is that you're going to see this is not like a perfect video. This is a real life classroom. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, and we'll have some time to process afterwards. And just give me a shout in the chat if you're having any issues hearing or other technical difficulties with this. Whoops.
Capitalism, because it's help you, it's give you freedom, and you can do anything. You can do your own.
Apologize, I wanted to put the closed captions on here for us.
Capitalism, because it's help you, it's give you freedom, and you can do anything. You can do your own business.
You don't have to write very good. Yeah, just listen. Just listen and just keep asking him. Get him to say, are there any other incidents? Or can you give an example?
You can. They give you the power, freedom, and I mean, you can do anything for your choice. They can. The government didn't interfere your work. They just helping you. What do you want?
My opinion is not mine. Sorry. Give me an example.
You can do. You can buy your own house and sell that house, and you do your own business. You can sell that workshop. You can.
Thank you.
Okay, so now the other partner has to speak now, right? You were speaking up to this point. You could write down a couple of things that they said that you find important and you want to share. Okay.
Capitalism. Capitalism is good because they give you freedom. You can do your own job. They never stop you. They give you rights. You have rights to do anything.
What's your name?
Pranta.
That's what that?
P-R-A-N-T-A.
So explain more. Elaborate why you think.
It's good because example, when you starting a business, they never stop you. You can do your own business. And you do anything for your business. They never stop you.
Give an example.
Like you try to open a chocolate shop and you buy lots of, and you collecting for all world to collect lots of chocolate for your shop for famous. You can do that. They didn't stop you.
What you think about the government? You think the government should control your business, your land?
No, they didn't control. They didn't control your land. They just give you freedom.
When you said that when owning your own shop, you're keeping it, but like you have more rights. I like that. It made my statement more stronger about capitalism and what it does. Explain what did I say that made your statement stronger?
Because you have when you do your own job, I mean your own shop, that money goes to only you, not other people.
For this partnership, we you to try not to use your notes. Try to just remember what your points were and the ideas that you took from the other partner. So put your notes down and try to do it from memory. Don't have to write for this one. You don't have to write, just speak it now. So everything you've heard and everything you said, just speak. All right, 90 seconds.
Which is better? Capitalism. Capitalism good because you have freedom. You can use it. You have your own rights. You can do anything what you want. Nobody stop you to do that, to do this. You can do anything. Like you try to do a shop, like in big shop, you can do this. The government never stop you. So, one example, you have to try a sweet shop, like a big sweet shop, toy shop. You can make it, and you can sell it too. And that money you can save, you can take it for only you. Nobody can, other people. And government, they didn't stop you to save that money. You can save that money for your family and your future too. And you can buy your own house too, and you sell too. You can do it. You can buy and sell too, but they give you the just freedom, and they give you more power to do your work. They respect your rights and things. What you do. One example is capitalism.
All right. So I'm going to ask you to just take a minute, reflect upon what you saw there, and type into the chat what you noticed about the student on the right's responses, or anything else that's really that you notice about this routine. Thinking about were his responses getting stronger? Were they getting clearer? What other supports could he have used? Go ahead and type any thoughts into the chat.
Elizabeth shared that there's more supporting details. Adela shared that he seemed to gain more confidence. Kathy said that he was able to give different types of examples to support his ideas. Ryan shared that each time he built on his examples, more specific supporting information without being prompted. Eric Brenner said that the student provided additional examples in the second and third rounds. Victoria shared that things got stronger, more examples, and precise words. Sally shared that the student added and changed vocabulary from one partner to the next. Jorge shared that he definitely, after each round, he built stronger, more elaborate sentences supporting his position. By the last round, he actually said, for example. Adela can see that his body language became more confident. Claire shared that probing questions from his partners and overall language helped to guide his responses and language frames.
Great. Thank you. So I appreciate you all noticing those things there. Obviously it wasn't a perfect response, but it's very clear that with the opportunity provided to him, he was able to really develop and practice using language so that he was able to make himself create a response that was much stronger and more clear. I also want to call out that what this video doesn't show here, if it wasn't obvious already, he's also hearing from his partners in between getting to speak each time. So of course, that's where he's getting opportunity to hear some more input, to hear some language used that he could incorporate into his own response there. And so just in case that wasn't obvious, I wanted to call that out. So how do we go about doing this during distance learning? I've obviously just showed you a video of what it looks like in the brick and mortar classroom, which we're not going back to next week. So how do we start to translate this into the online environment? So for one, of course, we need to provide a prompt to students and allow students some time to jot down their initial notes, their initial ideas there, so they can go into that first exchange with something to say, ready to go. We also want to provide students with some expectations for partner discussion. And so that might be something like just setting them up with the rules or, the norms that each partner will have a minute to talk, or however much time you want to provide them. The speaker will talk about their response to the prompt, and that the listener should ask clarifying questions to keep the speaker going. And so, as a few people already called out, really defining those roles for students and making sure they understand what each person is supposed to be doing is really critical here. Third, we then want to assign students to 2-person breakout rooms in Zoom. So similar to what we've been doing here and what we're about to practice doing ourselves. And just as a heads up, I have a link that's embedded in the slide deck here that provides a little bit of a tutorial if you need some support about how to manage these breakout rooms. So next, we'd recommend that you message students in the breakout room to change speakers after 1 minute or after however much time you want to provide each speaker. So similar to how Jan has been communicating to you all in your breakout rooms, you're going to send out a message to students letting them know it's time to change speakers. Finally, or next, you'd be bringing students back from breakout rooms, and you're going to be repeating this 2 or however many times you feel is appropriate with new breakout rooms / partners there. And so at that point, as you sort of, I think, saw the teacher do, or at least allude to, you can provide students with a little bit of time there to jot down any additional notes that they might be able to incorporate into their own speech. And continuously remind students that the goal here is to make their response stronger and clearer than the last time they responded. Some teachers have also added that it's worthwhile to kind of leverage this time to follow this activity up with a quick post write. So students have had this opportunity to really create a response that's really strong, that's really clear. So give them that opportunity then to write it down then. That's kind of like an extension, sort of an idea there. Okay. And so for ourselves, for the teachers, what do we do to prepare for this? So of course, like we mentioned, prepare an open-ended discussion prompt, prepare a discussion expectations slide. So I'll be modeling that in a few moments here. And then you'll be providing students with a scaffold for recording ideas. In a moment, Jan's going to share with you an example of that you're going to actually be using yourself in your breakout rooms here. So that scaffold is going to have something that looks like what you see on my screen here, which is just simply some space for students to jot down their partner's names, and some key ideas that they hear. And then in terms of preparation, of course, you need to ensure that your Zoom breakout rooms are enabled. And so here, if you were to click on this link here, that would take you to a little tutorial from Zoom about how to set up these breakout rooms. And also feel free to hit us up afterwards or outside of this space, and we can practice and support you with setting up breakout rooms if you're new to that. As for making sure students are prepared, it's just simply going to be providing them with that scaffold and giving them that time and space to do some pre-writing and brainstorming. A few additional tips here before we dive in. As somebody I think actually called out in the chat there, the teacher can really also direct students to do more specific things. So like telling the partner to ask for clarification, like have their partner explain or define or provide additional support through examples or more evidence. If notes are or other visuals are being used, like you saw in the video there, we recommend that you try to reduce the use or reliance on those notes between the first and the last exchange. Another idea is that you conclude the at least oral portion of this activity by asking students to reflect on it themselves. Did your ideas get stronger? Did your ideas get clear? To let them kind of do a little bit of metacognitive reflection around their own language use. Finally, also consider some, like I mentioned, pre or post writing activities. So like before getting into it, write your initial ideas in paragraph form, and then at the end, write your stronger, clearer idea in paragraph form. So just a few additional ideas there. I'm gonna pause. If you have any questions at this point, feel free to toss them in the chat. All right.
I think everyone wants to test out whether or not we can.
All right, let's do it then. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get to that, one last thing to note is this question of when to use strong or clear each time. And so if it's not apparent, it can really be used at many different times throughout a unit. For instance, you could use it like we saw in the video to prepare to write a persuasive or argumentative piece of writing. We could use it as a sort of formative assessment for comprehension on an idea, or we could use it towards the end of the unit as more of a summative assessment around comprehension. So with that in mind, we did want to also provide some examples about what this could look like in the various disciplines. So starting with ELA, maybe using it while students are reading a text, providing them a prompt, something like this, make a prediction, use evidence from the text. Use this in math class as a way for students to explain their reasoning or how they solve the equation. In social studies, perhaps an American government class around talking about election systems. Should the United States abolish the Electoral College? So good open-ended prompt there. In science classes, maybe in ecology, when you're talking about renewable energy sources, another just open-ended prompt, which is better, wind or solar energy. So again, just the idea being that anytime you have a topic or a prompt that would benefit from discussion or has multiple ways to attack it, this could be a strategy to use. And so now we get to try it out. So the prompt that I'm going to be giving you all while we're wearing our teacher hats today is this. How can oral language activities support students reading, writing, and learning in a discipline? So let's get ready for this. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and click on the discussion note sheet that Jan just shared again in the chat there. You'll notice it'll probably force you to make a copy, which it should. And that means it's your very own, so you can write all over this. And so once you get that open, I'm going to ask you to read the prompt again. And then number 3, take a few minutes to write some notes for yourself in the line that says me. That's for you to write your own initial ideas here. And once you've finished reading or writing your notes to yourself, you can review the discussion expectations. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes right now to go ahead and get ready. Let us know if you have any questions. Take about 20 more seconds to jot down your initial ideas. Okay. So again, as you would want to do with your students, when I reiterate the discussion expectations here, once we move into breakout groups, you will talk to a partner in your breakout rooms. Each person will have 1 minute to talk, and I'll be keeping time, so you don't have to worry about that. We'll give you a heads up whenever it's time to switch partners. When you're talking or when you're in your discussion groups, the speaker will be talking about their response to the prompt. The listener should ask clarifying questions to keep the speaker talking. So questions like, can you give an example of that? What do you mean when you say? Any clarifying type questions. Again, you can use your notes to support you, but try not to read from them. Try to just talk to your partner. And then finally, we'll be bringing you back to the main room in 2 minutes after both people have gotten a chance to speak.
And the 1 minute warning that you will be pulled back into the room will be your signal to switch. So when the timer shows up on your screen, or when you get announced on the phone that you are going to be pulled back into the main room, make sure you switch with your partner.
Right. And so just a note to that, like you don't even have to do anything. You don't have to click anything. Whenever you see that come up, you'll automatically be brought to back to the main room when it's time. So just make sure you're paying attention to that, just so you know when to switch partners.
All right. It's funny watching some people jump ship at this time. So please let me know if you are not in a breakout room.
That's the last time we talked. I think so.
I will be moving some people around. If you are by yourself, hopefully. Move to 17. All right, Lucas, go ahead and start your time.
Okay.
I'm thinking that the people that are not joining their rooms are secondary visitors.
All right, 2 minutes, go counting down now.
Okay, I have one person that is by themselves. 2. Sabrina, hold on. I'm trying to link you with someone.
Okay, if you want to give them the 1 minute warning.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't do the 1 minute yet.
No problem. I was going to say we can give them more time. That's like better, probably. Okay.
Hi, Adela.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Can you send me back?
I don't know if I can.
We're going to go on to our next round. So you'll get an
Okay. Sorry, I didn't get to share mine. You know what happened is I saw that box and it was
And you
in the
clicked
middle
it.
of my thing and I clicked on it. It was my turn to, I didn't intentionally skip my turn. It was inadvertent.
I wish there was a quick way for me to just switch one person versus another, because the double attendees are tricky. So
Yeah.
I think I'm going to give everyone like an extra 30 seconds just to settle into your room and for me to finish shuffling people to be paired up. So it's probably going to be closer to 3 minutes in a room. But I'll give the 1 minute warning and do not click the center button warning again, and start the 1 minute timer. So let me recreate rooms. If you are students, I would ask you to please write down ideas from your partner on your note taker, any cool words they used or phrases, while I get ready to put you into rooms. 47.
Sorry to those that were just getting started there, and it was quick. In part, that's intentional, and that we want to try to just like give you the opportunity to feel what it's like to move in and out of these spaces so quickly. And I try to also imagine it from the perspective of some of our language learners for whom that minute might be the longest minute of the day when they're trying to kind of articulate some ideas. So it's about knowing your students too and figuring out how much time they really do need in there.
And knowing yourself too, if you need more time to set up the breakout rooms. It's helpful if you use the pre-made breakout rooms versus randomly assigning 47 people. Definitely check out the link we shared in the slide deck for preparing a Google Sheet to preset your breakout rooms. And that way you're only needing to adjust for absences. All right, we're gonna try this again. Please bear with me as things get shifted around. Oh, we are uneven. Are we? No, maybe not. I should remember how many stay in our room and don't join breakout rooms so I can see who gets left out.
I can see, it looks like Christopher Marino, Ellen Reller, and LKT are still with us.
As long as it's just those three, I think we're good. I think we actually had a successful split.
Wow.
Oh, start the minute.
Oh, goodness. How much time should I put on now? Like
1 minute for partner one.
okay. luckily, classes are bigger than they should be, but this is like way more people than teachers would generally have to be managing into a break.
Oh, some people came back.
Hi, I came back because no one joined. I was there by myself.
Oh.
So.
Lakeisha?
Yes. That was.
Oh, there are two people. Let me see if I can get the two of you into a room. Or Lakeisha, have you gotten a partner yet?
Yes, I had a partner, but we had to use a chat box, but mine's just clicked back. I didn't touch anything.
Oh, okay.
But we spoke through the chat box because she said she could hear me, but I couldn't hear her.
Oh. Well, Lindsay, if you'd like to share yours, feel free.
Oh, okay. Sure, thank you. So when I was talking to my partner earlier, we were just talking about how it provides a good opportunity to have students brainstorm before doing their writing. So it really helps them process the information that they're learning. And I think as many engagement strategies that you can use just further help reinforce student learning. I think oral language it's super important to have a discussion, hear ideas from others, add to your knowledge base as well. But I also think it's important because for some students, it may be one of their learning strengths, but it's still important for students to work on it, even if it's maybe not a learning strength or something they're feeling confident in. Mm-hmm. So it kind of allows for learning from each other too, in that respect.
Good timing.
Some people coming back. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth.
Hopefully some of these challenges will be a little bit more avoidable, like you'll know who's there with you in your classes. But I appreciate you all kind of like leaning into that third norm of being solution oriented and figuring out how this can work for us still.
I think my motto for all of our distance learning launch that I keep hearing is grace and compassion. Things will go wrong and it's okay. We will work through it.
All right.
All right.
One more.
Do we want to do one more round, or would you like to start debriefing since we're at 20 minutes left?
Oh, I guess, all right, yeah, we should probably move into debriefing here, actually. So, apologies if you were hoping to dive in with one more person, but I think you probably get the gist of it here, what we're trying to get at. And good, I see some people are calling out for debrief, so let's do it. All right, so if you thought though that we were done with the breakout rooms, then I'm afraid not. We got one more here because I do want to give you a chance to debrief with a small group just to try to provide some more space for equity of voice here. This time you're going to be in a group of about 4 or so people, but I'd like to provide some prompts here. First off, whatever you have top of mind is what you can share about, but if you need some prompts here, you can talk about how you think this interaction structure would support English language development. Think about it from the perspective of your particular content area. How could this help in terms of content development? And getting into the logistics of things, how do you think you would roll this out with your students? Like how you have to adapt or modify this for your particular context? Or maybe at what point in the unit could you use this discourse routine? So,
ready?
think about that. And Jan, yes, thank you. We'll be ready. We will have about 10 minutes for this conversation time. So we'll give you some time checks in there, but know that you have about 10 minutes, just being mindful of equity of voice there. Go for it.
All right. Oh, you got the timer going, Lucas?
Yep.
Let me know when we're at 5 minutes.
Cool. We're at 7:25 now.
Okay. Are you going to the Unit 1 meeting today? It's like a Unit 1 feedback meeting.
Oh no, I don't think I had planned for it.
Okay.
What's up with that?
So I'm going so then I can see what ELA and social studies have developed for Unit 1 to help figure out how to create a parallel Unit 1 in ELD.
Oh.
So what kind of routines would we want to put in? What kind of text sets would mirror it so that we would then support students learning based on that theme, which is around identity and community.
Cool. No, I didn't, I didn't go to the meeting the other week, so maybe I got taken off of those invitations, which is fine. I mean.
Oh yeah, you just led a 2-hour PD right now.
I appreciate thank you so much again for like womaning, personing the controls here.
No problem. This is good practice. We'll see how we do on Thursday.
I'm like, if you didn't see, I did put in a feedback form here, so I'm hoping some people do give us some feedback. Because I'm curious, like, I think I mean, I would feel like comfortable maybe doing this kind of a strategy after like establishing some rapport with teachers, but I'm realizing like they're probably still going to feel some anxiety about like using breakout rooms like this and like managing all that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what people say. We're at 5 minutes, by the way.
Cool.
I can't believe we filled up this whole time. I was like sure that we're gonna end like 20 minutes early.
It is one of the things that we need to remember with any of our PDs right now. It's just that online takes longer than in person.
Yeah.
It just takes so much longer. Yeah, I'm jumping from our meeting to the Unit 1 meeting right after.
Okay.
So, if you wanted to debrief anything, we'll have to debrief later on.
Sure, yeah, no worries at all. Yeah, I'm gonna.
How much more time do they have?
3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, 1 minute warning.
Okay. Hi, Veronica.
I miss you.
All right, welcome back from our final breakout session there. Hopefully you had a chance to kind of hear from colleagues, say what was on your mind. Does it look like we're all back here, Jan?
We are. Some
All right.
people are missing out on the feedback form.
All right, well, so again, I wanted to just briefly, before we close, open it up. If there is anything you'd like to lift out from your small group share outs that you wanted to share with the group, feel free to unmute yourself or even just put it in the chat if you have some ideas on your mind that we could all benefit from hearing.
Hello. My name is Leslie. I teach at Galileo. Someone in my group, and forgive me for not remembering her name, she was talking about going into this activity as low stakes initially, as opposed to academic discourse, which I just was like, wow, that's a really great idea. Something just like, what's your favorite ice cream? Which flavor is better? Something like that, just to get it going. And that way you don't have that intimidation of using academic language, etc.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. I totally agree with you. Any other thoughts that came up?
One piece that Lucas and I forgot to model is before putting people into breakout groups, to avoid the awkward you go first, no you go first, assigning somebody going first, like whoever commuted or used to have the smallest commute, or whoever woke up earliest, or whoever's birthday is happening soonest. Think of ways to get conversation to start as soon as they get into breakout rooms.
Great, thank you for sharing. So to start to move us into closing moves here, oh good, and I see some folks are adding some ideas to the chat box there, so feel free to read some of what's going on in the chat there while I start to wrap us up for the day. I just wanted to put it out there again that this work is originating from Jeff Swears down at Stanford, and so I'd encourage you to check out his website, which gives a little bit more background on this and many other similar discussion-centric routines and tools there. And finally, getting into a group process check here. I'm just going to do this a little differently than we might normally do it, or that I guess we normally do it at MPD. But if you're feeling moved, I'm going to put this out to the whole group. Encourage you to go ahead and either unmute yourself or respond in the chat to any of the following, just around our process for today. You can start by saying what I expected for this group, by this session. You can talk about what you valued, what you might need more of, what could have helped you. So no pressure, but if you're feeling moved to, I'm going to open it up to you all to engage in a process check here. See that Adela said she valued connecting with colleagues. Question, will it be available on webinar so I can share with colleagues? I do believe so. I think that's the purpose of us recording this, so the recording will be made available to you all. Somebody said I valued practicing the procedure, a better sense overall. Some other thoughts from, looks like from the debrief. Valuing the chance to process how the strategy works while engaging with others. Valuing reinforcement of the 6 priorities. Thank you again for that. And likewise, if there is any more specific feedback that you could give us, we really do value that. I can say that's what I value is I really value you all taking the time to engage with us today, and on behalf of our language learner students. I expected there to be some technical difficulties along the way, but I really value the fact that you were all kind of like, we're so solution oriented, and we could use this as a space to kind of work through that and figure out how to make this work. So again, please, I do encourage you to complete the feedback form. Jan put it in the chat there. You can find it on either the doc agenda or right here in our slide deck. There's a question, is there a link to going from sheets to breakout rooms?
That there is a link for best practices for pre-setting Zoom breakout rooms. I will look for it. Lucas, if you find it before I do,
okay,
pop it in the link, please. I'm also sharing right now in the chat the workshop resource folder where you should find all things this workshop specifically.
And of course, if other questions do arise, or if we haven't been able to like totally answer your questions yet, please feel free to shoot us an email at any time. That's what we're here for. And again, I just really want to thank you all for joining us today on behalf of everybody at Multilingual Pathways Department. And we're really looking forward to working together over the course of this crazy school year coming up here. So thank you again, and look forward to talking to you soon. And feel free to hang around if you do want to connect with me or Jan. With me, I think Jan's going to run, but I'll be here if you want to connect right now about anything.
And the link to the breakout rooms in Zoom is on our 6 priorities document under Facilitate Student Talk. And I also placed it in the chat just now. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Bye, Jan. Thanks again.
If I'm going to make you the host now, so
Oh, cool. Yeah.
it doesn't mess everything up. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Jan.